Welcome, everybody. My name is Alicia Jones. I go by both names because Alicia has a different energy than Alice. It was my birth name. It's Polish, and there's the ah sound in it. And that's, to me, that's the sound of God. Buddha, Jeshua, Krishna, Yeshua always had an ah sound, God, the ah sound in it. So, and it's people who have like a name like Anna, that's so special because 4 letters, 2 syllables, twice the sound of God. So that's really great. Or Maria. So, anyway, today is going to be a continuation of the chakras. I always felt very rushed through the chakra presentation in my Reiki classes, and I never felt that I gave them sufficient um, emphasis, sufficient ability to share exactly how important they are. And so that's how I decided to set this series this year on the 8 chakras. And the reason we have 8 is we have 7 major ones on our body. We have the 8th one above our head, but also connected to our thymus. And that's the seed of compassion. And its color is aquamarine. And so I'm going to do that last. That will be our last presentation on the chakras. So I welcome all of you. I thank you for being here. The first thing that we're going to do to open up the session is our prayer of connection. So if everyone would gently close their eyes, take a deep breath in, exhale. Dear Mother, Father, God, divine, infinite source of all that is, I ask to be connected to you, to my higher self, and to the higher self of all here present and all those who may have intended to be present. I ask for the assistance of the angels, the archangels, the ascended masters, the Reiki masters, but most especially Master Jesus, Master Buddha, Master Katumi, Saint Francis, Saint Germain, Saint Gabriel, Saint Raphael, the Divine Feminine, Mary Magdalene, Moses, Metatron, Melchizedek, Muhammad, and Kuan Yin. I ask that we be cleared, centered, aligned, balanced, and grounded, and that whatever come in for each of us come in for our highest good. I also ask to be a clear channel of light for Metatron and his healing angels so that we each receive the highest vibrations of light possible. Also ask for the assistance of the great rays, the lords and masters of the rays, and the archangels of the rays. And lastly, for the shield and sword of Saint Michael the Archangel to protect our energy field above, below, side to side, front to back, inside and outside, so that only the highest beings of light be allowed to enter. I ask all of this in the name of Jesus the Christ and in the name of I am. And today's session, the heart chakra, to me, is the most important of the chakras. You can live without many things, but you cannot live without a heart. And so there's absolutely no substitution. There's medical research that has done wonderful things to help us get through some of the defects. And when I get to that section, you will see how many areas of the heart can be affected. And I'm just going to cover a very, very few of them. Uh, because if you go into Gray's Anatomy, the section on the heart, I think, is 50 pages. And so there's no way I'm getting that technical. But the heart is known as the gatekeeper. And the reason it's known as the gatekeeper is to access the upper chakras, you have to go through the heart. If your heart isn't open, you can, yes, you can have an experience with an upper chakra. For example, I'll never forget this statement, but Wanda had mentioned this one time. She said the brightest crown she had ever seen in her life was that of a cocaine addict. So obviously, that gal just was interested in opening her crown, but not with developing it in the manner that it needed to be developed for it to be to have the results that she needed. But let's start with understanding first and foremost the colors of the heart. Whenever I have a healing and I look at somebody's heart, which I tend to do because I tend to go down the chakras or up the chakras from the beginning, and when I get to the heart, I can sometimes see white light, I can see green, I can see pink, I can see white gold, and green for me is always healing. That's the light of Saint Raphael. Pink, the light of the Blessed Mother, the light of tenderness, the light of compassion, the light of mercy, the light of love. And white, the light of God. White gold, the light of the Christ consciousness. Unconditional love. Because that's the goal for the heart, is for you to find unconditional love. Our experiences, the ones that we agree to in this lifetime, might lead us through a journey that take us down a rabbit hole where we feel, oh my God, this does not feel good. This is not right. I don't understand why I'm having these experiences. But ultimately, the one goal of the heart chakra is for you to be able to find unconditional love. There is also, along with the colors of the heart chakra, there is also a very special little mechanism that exists in the heart, and that is the threefold flame, like a little fleur de lis. And it can be very big, it can be very small, but it can never be extinguished. Every single person, no matter what role they've chosen to play, and some obviously have chosen to play very devastating, very ugly roles. Right now, obviously, the energies are such that no matter what it is that we have to deal with, we have to deal with it. That's the long and short of it. No matter what it is, we just deal with it. So anyway, the number one function of the heart chakra is to control our ability to feel love. And most importantly, love for ourselves. You cannot give what you do not have. So you absolutely have to take and love yourself first and foremost before you can give to others. That's something that people really have to learn before they can connect to the oneness of all things. They are the oneness. They are themselves capable of being everything that is available uh, to be part of the earth, and that includes obviously people, nature, animals, crystals, uh, animal, vegetable, mineral. Doesn't matter. We are all part of that oneness. Okay. From the heart, this is where we also derive our own true personal power, our own security, our own confidence, and our ability to trust. It's trusting others, and you know yourself when you are faced with somebody who is lying to you. You can feel it. There's something inside your energy field that picks up the fact that they are lying. And in many cases, not all, but in many cases, it's that their energy field reverses the flow. And then you're picking up the friction of that reversal. You're not in harmony with them. So you learn obviously not to trust them because their word means nothing. All your feelings derive from your heart. It when you stop to think, the heart controls. I mean, you can be in the presence of somebody and you know instantly that they just make you feel good. But you can also be in the presence of somebody and maybe you haven't even met them, really known who they are, but they don't make you, they make you feel bad. And you don't know why, but that again, vibrationally, you're picking that up. So, and interestingly enough, too, the heart has a direct connection to your hands. It's almost like a meridian flow that goes directly to your hands. And this is the essence of Reiki, is because it is a hands-on modality. It is a modality that is able to become something that you can transmit healing through your hands. And eventually you also learn that you're transmitting healing through your eyes, through your heart, and basically through every cell in your body. You change the energy of a room just by walking into it. And you also learn how to reclaim your energy instead of having something happen that causes you tremendous angst. You instead will be able to get back to center and just take care of that, and just know that you are that you're okay, and you don't have to buy into the energy of the person that is being disruptive. Obviously, we just had a great example of that. So um, there's two systems that the heart chakra controls. Obviously, the circulatory system is the one, but so is the respiratory system. They're both in the same exact location. And it's interesting because in the circulatory system, you have everything related to the heart, which is the four chambers of the heart, but you also have the aorta, you have the veins, you have the arteries, you have the capillaries, and with the respiratory system, you have the lungs and the bronchi, the bronchioli, but you also have the diaphragm, that's part of the lungs. You also have the breasts, the arms, the ribs, the thymus gland, and the shoulders. And how many people have you had as healers where you felt that they were carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, that they were just being, having it uh, they were carrying a burden, and that burden was adding to their stress rather than having to be part of the flow that could help them release their stress. So, anyway, but the other thing too, that with the thymus gland, the diaphragm, the ribs, and the breasts, if you have a malignancy like, um, well, we'll get to that, but the physical problems that you can have with the heart is heart failure, which is, I guess, the most important is the heart attack, which the medical term is myocardial infarction. I had to look that up because I looked at myocardial infarction and I said, I know I've heard that, but I don't know what it is. And there it was, heart attack. And a second one is mitral valve prolapse. And mitral valve prolapse is where the heart is, the chambers of the heart don't function properly. It's like there's something between the upper and the lower chambers where the blood is not released properly. And the irony is that doctors can diagnose these problems even in newborns. That's how well developed the heart is already, even though it's a brand new baby who has just been born, just come into this earth, they can diagnose this. Another issue with the heart, and this is an issue that I deal with, atrial fibrillation, commonly known as AFib. My doctor explained it beautifully. She said, most people have a symphony orchestra. You have a jazz band. My rhythm is just kind of does its own thing. Normally, when you watch people's rhythm, it's pretty even. There's a part that goes up, there's a part that's pretty stable, goes up again, pretty stable, goes up again. Well, mine just kind of goes all over the board. And yet, I know that a lot of people will say, boy, that gives me a lot of problems. In my case, the only thing that I do notice is a shortness of energy. I don't have the energy that I used to have. My sisters always called me the Energizer Bunny, that I would run rings around everybody. And I would think, no, I'm not the Energizer Bunny. My mother is. and everything, but she died at age 59 as she succumbed to breast cancer. And I'm sorry, ovarian cancer. And but with the AFib, I have been able to adjust to it. And I do recognize that when I get tired, I lay down. I never used to. I would push through the tiredness and continue to work to the point of utter exhaustion. I've long given that up. And I think the AFib happened to let me know that I was using my body like a machine instead of giving it the proper respect and the proper care that it needed. Um, so now I absolutely will be a lot more careful about not pushing myself when I know I'm tired. And if I have to take a 10-minute nap, 15-minute nap, hour nap, I do it. And it's interesting because once Jim Lehrer of PBS News with the McNeil-Lehrer report, once he had a heart attack, his office was always locked between 1 and 2 p.m. And that people knew, don't even try to get in, because that was his nap time. And then he was able to go for the rest of the day to to give the news at I think at 6 p.m. is when they published the news. Okay, this was a new one. It's called cardiomegaly. And I had to Google it to see what that meant. And they stated that that is an enlarged heart. And I can remember when my father had his heart attack as a result of diabetes, complications from diabetes. When I went into his room and I looked at his charts, the visual of his heart was as big as 8 by 11, which is the size of a normal piece of paper. And I looked at that and I thought, how is that possible? But that's a condition that absolutely is possible. The muscles of the heart just grow and grow and grow. And that doesn't necessarily mean, that has nothing to do with you opening your heart and you having a bigger heart. It's just the physical reality of having this kind of enlarged heart. And there is a fabulous movie out there that literally is about an enlarged heart, you will find ultimately, with Tom Hanks, and it's called Otto. It was released a couple years ago, maybe 3, maybe 4. If you haven't watched it, I absolutely am so thrilled to be able to share that, because Tom Hanks has always played every man. There's always been something redeeming in every role. Well, in the whole beginning of this movie, in fact, through maybe 3/4 of it, he plays a real grouch. He plays somebody that you is totally out of character for the type of personality that that he has built up on stage. But all total, it's a wonderful movie, and it actually, like I said, has this cardiomegaly, the enlarged heart, about it. There's another thing called cardiomyopathy, and this is where the walls of the different chambers thicken, and so the blood can't circulate correctly, and it's very difficult for the blood to to circulate effectively. So, but those are the type of major areas with the heart. Then with the respiratory system, you have the lungs, you have the shoulders, you have the bronchi, the bronchioli. The bronchi are the major tubes. And interestingly enough, again, maybe in preparation for this talk, I came down on May 6th with viral bronchitis. Found out that because it's viral, there is no antibiotic that will work with it. It has to be bacterial for an antibiotic to work against, to help you with the bronchitis. But they could give me a something, and for some reason the name escapes me right now, for to help me with the moving of the phlegm, and because when you cough, it literally, I felt like I'm listening to myself, and I thought, you sound like a 90-year-old person who has smoked his entire life. And I may have smoked for a very short period of my life in my 20s, but that was long ago. So never smoked since then. And yet the cough was so deep and so throaty. But the whether it's viral or whether it's bacterial, it can absolutely affect the your ability to sleep, because you will be awakened in the middle of the night with a coughing fit. And once you start coughing, sometimes it's very hard to go back to sleep. At least it was for me. The shoulders too. I know that whenever I have anybody that has acted as if their problems were carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, that was a lung issue and that was a heart issue. So just pay attention if that is an attitude that you're carrying, that you feel your shoulders are, whether they're rounded or whether they're sagging or whether they hunch forward, that you're out of proportion to the magnitude of the problems that you're carrying, or at least you feel that you're out of proportion to the magnitude of the problems that you're carrying. Diaphragm, anything to do with your diaphragm, is obviously related to your lungs. And most people do not breathe properly. They breathe very shallowly. And when they do breathe, it's a lot of times it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the meditation is something that will help you with this immensely, because it will help you slow your breath down. It will help you take deeper breaths. It will help you be consciously aware of where your breath is flowing. And it absolutely does help you go into an altered state if that is, a desired part of what you want through meditation. Some people don't care. Some people just have a very low tolerance for the monkey mind, and they just want to be calm, calm that monkey mind down. And so they, will go into meditation for that. But um, just remember that you can control that. The last, of course, is your thymus gland, and that I will cover in depth with your eighth chakra, because that's related. It's related. It's called your high heart, and it's related to the eighth chakra, which is above your head. But the color is aquamarine. But I do want you to pay attention to how many times you will see aquamarine show up. In fact, aquamarine and magenta are two additional colors that will attach themselves to a rainbow. I was gifted one time with, after leaving my subdivision and coming up to the corner, which is a slight crest, not a big one, but then I have a huge expanse of sky ahead of me, in front of me, and I saw the most magnificent, one of the most magnificent rainbows I've ever seen in my life, with all its own colors, but then the magenta and the aquamarine under it. So it's the only time I've seen that in the heavens. A lot of times I will see it reflected in my own living room, because I do, my living room faces east. So I do have the rising sun, and that hits the crystals that I have in the windows. And so I'm tend to be aware of when I do see aquamarine, and magenta. So just become aware of that. It's to me, it's one of God's greatest gifts. Magenta is the color of Metatron, and it's the color he associates with. And Metatron's healing is, he's an archangel who's credited with developing the electron. Not very well known, but he's mentioned in the Kabbalah. He's also mentioned in the Quran. I do not believe he's mentioned in the Christian Bible at all, but yet very, very important archangel, and used to be connected strictly with cosmic matters, and now there's many people that will say, yes, I work with Metatron on a daily basis, and everything. And I offer Metatron's healing methods with Reiki 2 and Reiki 3. So, okay, I think that's what I have there. And in the mental and emotional issues that are related to heart chakra, at the top is love and hatred. But according to A Course in Miracles, there are only two emotions on this planet. One is love, one is fear. If it doesn't come from love, it comes from fear. And all the rest of everything that I am mostly everything that I'm going to be talking about, you will see how fear plays into that. Because hatred, it's unfortunate, but hatred has found a way to be prevalent on this planet in a very, very big manner. But there is one big benefit that's coming from the hatred that's playing out in the United States. Other countries of the world are looking at what's happening to us and are saying, oh my God, we don't want that for ourselves. So people who had been leaning far right in the election system, all of a sudden that changed for them and they went more centrist. So I think that has had an absolutely outstanding benefit. But love is obviously where we came from. Love is what we go back to. And love is what we try to find, to work with, to be a part of on throughout our daily life. And love, I love the title of the song, Love It Makes the World Go Round. I absolutely do believe that. Okay. Other mental and emotional issues, and obviously this sides with fear, resentment and bitterness. If you're carrying resentment, and it over the years, again, I have counseled enough people to know that things, you can be 70 years old, and things that happened when you were 4 still are affecting you. So all those years that have gone by mean nothing. You're still carrying an energy of either resentment or bitterness towards what happened. And in one case, one of the gals related a story. This was in a group session that I was with called The Forum, and this was in the 80s. She related a story. She said when she was 4, and she was easily 60s pushing 70, judging just from her appearance. She saw a little gnome bound in her parents' garden. And she came in to the house. She said, pointed little red hat, little green outfit, tight little belt, pointed little curly shoes. And she was so excited about it. And of course, the immediate reaction from her parents was to poo-poo her, that, oh, no, this was just your imagination. Unfortunately, their statement to her made her unable to trust herself the rest of her life, because that little incident at age 4 made her not believe what she had experienced. Instead of, obviously, my sister had the same thing happen to her. She called me up one day and she said, Alice, I don't know if you're going to believe this, but she said, I had a gnome come in through the wall of the bedroom, jump on my bed, take another leap out the door, and the door was closed, but he went through the door, and I said, of course I believe it. That again, all that you're experiencing is you're experiencing a 5th dimensional creature, but you're seeing it with your 3-dimensional eyes, and it's a gift to you. So if you have a grandchild or a child who shares a story like that with you, absolutely don't discount it. I know many children have wonderful experiences up until about 7 or 8. And then from that point on, then they start discounting, or somebody in their life starts to discount the experiences. And then they change their mind about every single thing that they have witnessed. So please just know that, yes, everything that's listed as a fairy tale exists on the 5th dimension. And that includes everything. And the one interesting thing to me is how dragons are making an entree back into our psyche, because I will see examples of dragons, whether it's a statue outside a building or whether it's a little dragon on a ledge. And sometimes the dragons are actually made of different pieces of metal that are connected together, so they all just resemble scales. But it's just wonderful to see that this is coming back, and that people are recognizing there's something to this. But if you're holding on to resentment and bitterness, unfortunately, you're hurting the vessel it's stored in, which is your heart. So that is something you have to evaluate, and you have to, uh, and sometimes if you just don't know how to get rid of it, bring in any one of your guides or all of them if necessary. There are times where I have felt so stuck in something that I will call on every heavenly being that that I have at my disposal to help me with a situation. And sometimes it has nothing to do with resentment and bitterness. Sometimes it has everything to do with maybe, I'll give you an example of the last time I called on every single nature creature and every single God form that I could think of was my daughter's wedding. She got married in in Pennsylvania at the same time that a hurricane and a tropical storm were raging. And I started to pray to every single being that I knew to help her get through this wedding, because as I watched her throughout the day, um, I just saw tears in her eyes because she insisted on an outdoor wedding. She didn't want it indoors. She wanted it outdoors, and she wanted trees all lit up like fairy trees, and she wanted candles on tables and everything. Well, you can't exactly have that in a drenching rainstorm. So she had to make a decision whether everything went under a giant tent by 12 noon. About 11:30 on Friday morning, it stopped raining till it didn't start again till after 11 Saturday night when the band finished. So it just, to me, I thought, because you were sandwiched between a hurricane and a tropical storm, and I I I just thanked all the beings that I had called in, and and to intercede to have this child have the wedding that she wanted. This outdoor wedding kind of set in kind of almost like a fairy garden. Uh, and it worked. That's all I can tell you, is it worked. Grief is a mental and emotional issue that is related to the heart. One of the hardest things that a person can experience is losing their own child, whether it's to war or whether it's to sickness or whatever it is. It can be devastating. Um, it is absolutely amazing that the one experience that I had with extreme grief was an experience where a gal had come in from Spain, and she did a class on soul retrieval. And she said that they discovered that that this was necessary because the women who would be on the top of their homes, called the catwalk in Spain, and they would be able to look out far into the ocean, and they would be able to see whether their husband's ship was coming home, and because every single sail had its own particular marking. And they recognized in doing this work that there was this whole element of women who had suffered the loss of their husbands, or um, through, whether it was through storms or through battles. Uh, and that they needed to have a method to bring bits and pieces of the soul back. And because effectively what happened is that the soul shattered when they saw that their husband's ship wasn't there. And in in leaving a part of their soul, leaving their body, just meant that it went somewhere in the universe, but it needed to be retrieved back. And so the method she developed, and I partook in this soul retrieval, is that she had every one of us bring 2 pillows or more if we wanted to, but that was our major assignment, to come to class with 2 pillows. And then we had this mountain of pillows that we just put in the center, and the person who was going to now experience retrieving his soul fell backwards into the pillows and stayed backwards and stayed looking up until the soul completely came, bits and pieces of the soul came back. And I knew, there was a part of me that said, not sure about this. I'm willing to partake in it, but I'm not sure that this is really happening, that this is for real. When it came to my turn, when I fell back into the against the pillows, because there was no way you could get hurt because there was just too many of them, I soon recognized, I very quickly recognized that there was no way I could move a muscle of my body or open my eyes until my own soul was willing to release me. And it was only, and that took roughly 20 minutes per person. So this was an exercise that took all day. Took us all day before we got through every single member of the class, because the rest of the people just surrounded the person who was having the soul retrieval and just held the space for them to have this experience. And it was incredible because there was no way that I could have, like I said, moved a muscle, done anything in my power to have opened my eyes, been able to propel my body forward until my body, my soul released me and was able to do it. So obviously, one of my lifetimes, I had, whether I was one of those women who watched the non-return of her husband, or something else, I partook in a lifetime where I had excessive grief that was way beyond the measure, grief that I couldn't get over. And so that's when pieces of the soul just left. And if you're drawn to something like that, seek it out, because it does exist. Somebody will offer it. It does exist, but it's like I said, it's a commitment that once you start, once you partake in a class like this, you have to be there for everybody that's in that class. So that's working with grief. I do have a personal friend here that used to live in my subdivision, whose daughter died her freshman year at Duke University. And when I tuned into the daughter, I saw a beautiful angelic being, just like just the torso up to the head. And the story that I got was that in her next lifetime, she was going to become one of the researchers for this particular ailment that she had succumbed to. And in succumbing, and I can't remember what the ailment was, but I knew it had something like 14 letters to it. So it was, and obviously it had to do with something in the brain, the the mother, however, absolutely could not get over the loss of her daughter. She had that was her firstborn, and then she had a son after that. And the mother, on the anniversary of the daughter's death, every year would hold a party. And it happened around Christmas time. So it was always associated with Christmas, but she would hold a party. I've lost touch with the mother completely, so I don't know now what she does. But it 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 was so tragic to see how she could not get over the grief of losing that child. She couldn't get over it. And but anyway, if grief has you in its grips, just know that there are, I think it's Piaget, there's 5 stages of grief, and you have to move through every single stage to in order to get through it. I'll probably cover that in another lecture sometime. Self-centeredness is another mental and emotional issue. Becoming self-centered or being self-centered through a inability to recognize anybody else's point of view. And this is something that our country is going through right now. We have the Great Divide, where one side has no tolerance for anything the other side does and no acceptance of it. So self-centeredness is something that is absolutely an issue that needs to be is related to the heart. Loneliness. I have many friends who are single, and some of them have great lives. They are just extremely happy and talented, and they share their expertise and they share their love of whatever it is that they love with others, and they have no loneliness. They experience none, and others, that just can't seem to get over that. This is a big one. Fear of commitment. There are times where people will come to me and ask me to help them understand where their fear of commitment came from. And many, many times it's related to a past life, if not all times, because they were shattered in a previous lifetime with some betrayal. Somebody had betrayed them. So that's very understandable why somebody might have a fear of commitment. Another one is forgiveness and compassion. And forgiving is just the word itself. Forgiving is forgetting. Think of those two terms, put them down on a piece of paper, and you will see how they go hand in hand. Forgive is to forget. So forgiving is forgetting. And compassion, again, who do you have to have compassion for, first and foremost? Yourself. You have to have compassion for yourself. And if you keep drawing a repeat, and in my case, it seems to me like I keep drawing a repeat of illnesses. And I keep thinking, I have been so blessed with such great health all my life. All of a sudden now, why am I doing things to myself? And like my sister said to me, well, my youngest sister said to me, Alice, why do you keep hurting yourself? And so I had really had to reflect on that. And so then one of the questions I asked internally is, why do I keep getting ill? And one of my guides' answers was, because when you're ill, nothing can be demanded of you. When you're ill, nobody can ask anything of you. And I thought, that's pretty right on, because when you're ill, you're going to, all you want to do is go to bed, and you just want to nurture yourself. And I know the week where I was diagnosed and I got the viral bronchitis from the ER, going in to check out something else that checked out just fine. I thought I thought I had bruised a rib. I'm sorry, broken a rib. I hadn't broken a rib. I had just bruised it and everything. But trying to get the cat off the counter of our central island, and in the process of trying to get the cat off, fell into the edge of the corner, which is a pretty sharp edge at this point. So anyway, and then going to ER, not wearing a mask, coming out that night with bronchial, and I knew I picked it up at ER because it was the middle of the night, the same night that I had gone to ER, that all of a sudden I'm starting to cough like crazy. And so then had to have that checked out. But forgiveness and compassion, if you recognize that you're doing this to yourself, then you can ask, well, why am I doing it? What is it about me not wanting to move forward in something else that needs to be addressed? And the last issue was hope and trust. That having, and this is obviously very positive, from your heart is where you have hope. And there was a time where I thought between hope and love, that hope was the lesser virtue, because I continued to hear this statement inside my head that said, hope looks outside and waits. Love looks within and finds the power of self. So then I thought, well, love, by looking within and finding the power of self, is much more powerful than hope. But hope in a country that is caught in the grips of an oligarchy right now. I can't remember which country it was that was being interviewed. I think it was Hungary. I'm pretty sure it was Hungary, because they were a democracy and they became an oligarchy, and they and some of the people that are interviewed, they say, you haven't a clue how fast things can switch. In some cases, things can switch in a week. I know when the Nazis blamed the I guess it was the Christian right or whatever it was for the fire that destroyed one of their buildings. Um, that turned the tide. And the irony was only 15% of the German people supported the Nazis. And yet, look what the devastation that they accomplished with that 15% that supported them. So hope and trust are two items that you can rely on to change the direction of your life. Okay, I know I'm running a little bit late, but there are certain deformities that I wanted to review with you, because when people come to me and ask me about relationships, the first thing I ask them for is permission to look at their heart and just to see what have they done to their heart. At least I will be given images. And I wanted to review 4 of them with you because these were fairly recent. When I looked at the heart of one of the gals, and the irony is all 4 of these examples came from women, what I saw was a heart that was chained and padlocked. And the chains were real thick and the padlock was very strong. And of course, this was a brand new client. So I just asked her, I said, what is this? What's going on with you? And then she gave me her background, and I could understand absolutely very clearly why she would have done that. But I also knew that unless she unchained it and unpadlocked it, there would be problems. In another case, as I looked at the heart, there was an iron little picket fence around the heart. And the irony was that the picket fence, even though it was short, it prevented anybody from accessing her heart. So if there was a new love interest that showed up in her life, they would feel that resistance of that iron picket fence. Short, little one, but still very, very, very prevalent. This one was incredible. I saw a satin heart, and it was like a satin cushion, but from it were 1,000 spikes. And the spikes were very, very sharp. And they had such, it was like, stay away, stay away, stay away. You're going to get hurt if you get anywhere close to my heart. So, and yet the satin was gorgeous, and the satin felt very smooth. So her basic heart was fine, but the resistance that she put up was equally as devastating as anything I've ever seen in my life. And this one just happened just pretty recently. When I looked at the heart, I saw tombstones. And it was like, oh my God, she's buried her heart. And so she didn't want anybody to access the heart. She, as much as she professed that she wanted a new relationship, not so, not really. So just know that the images, that what you do, how you can treat your heart can be extremely uh, important to you. Um, All right. The last thing, and can be, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is can be so critical to you being able to have a new relationship and to welcome a new relationship into your life, because energetically, that what you do around your heart, the other person can feel. They don't know what they feel, but they feel something, and that something leads to rejection. What do they feel? I'll reject you before you reject me. It just means that they don't want to be part of uh, your life. And okay, healing through forgiveness. That was the title of this thing, and I've covered a tiny bit of that by saying forgiving is forgetting. And the power of those two words, what you give is what you get. So if you forgive, you can forget. But one of the things I do want to stress, because people sometimes get the absolutely wrong idea about what forgiving and forgetting means. That does not mean that you have to have these people in your life, that you have to be anywhere near these people, that you have to welcome them and everything. You can forgive and forget and never see them again the rest of your life. And that is okay. But energetically, it frees you from whatever it is that you had tied to, that you had been tied to before. Okay. Again, what does forgiving and forgetting mean? It means that you do not hold another person's words or actions against them. You let that go. You find a way to release anything that you had that hurt you, anything that you had that had its claws stuck into your psyche. And you release that and you say, you have no power over me, because you have to remember, when it comes to negative energies, negative entities, negative anything, the only power it has over you is the power you give it. If you can remember that, you can free yourself from a lot of hatred, a lot of pain in the future. Okay. All right. What else does forgiving and forgetting mean? It means that you do not carry past memories into your present experience. What is in the past is in the past. It's gone. Forget it. You do not carry it. Every single time you carry it into the present and give it energy, especially when you give it energy to hurt you, that's when it becomes a disaster to you. And that's when it can change the ability for you to move on and to be free of the pain of that experience. Okay, and this next one is roughly the same thing. It says it means that the memory that that person brings has no charge in your electrical system, that it doesn't confuse you. It doesn't make you feel like it's changed your personality, changed your ability to react to a person. And so that there is absolutely no pain involved in the memory of what that person did or said to you. That's a toughie, because sometimes that could take a lifetime to get over. And the last one, it just says it means that you stay forgiving and forgetting, means you stay on neutral ground. You do not change your personality every time you speak or think of the other person. And in my case, the first husband that I married was a narcissist. And at the time I married him, I didn't have a clue what narcissism meant or codependency meant. I was a codependent, he was a narcissist. So, but I had to learn very, very quickly. And I do feel that there is so much that we carry on with us that is energetic, that burdens us. Because I know through the clients that I've had, I have seen their faces change when they get to a new level of understanding. And a lot of this is just it's internal work that might take days, years, days, months, years to do. And but the important thing is to do it. I did want to end with one of these poems that Maddie Stepanek did, Loving Through Heart Song. If he was the little boy who, pretty sure he died at age 13 or 14. And when he was 8, he had a rare form of muscular dystrophy that kind of kept him in the hospital, sometimes 9 months out of the year. And when he was 8 years old, he was asked, what did he want to happen before he died? And he said, I want to have my poems published. And he actually had 5 volumes published. And he wanted to meet Jimmy Carter, because Jimmy Carter was his hero. And because that was the eve of the Gulf War. And he prayed so hard for that not to start, but it did. And Jimmy Carter, had many, many, many years later gotten the Nobel Peace Prize for the Camp David Accords, the peace that he negotiated with Israel and Egypt and everything. But I thought this was a very fitting tribute. And let me just see if all right, this is what I opened up to, because there were 4 poems that I had selected, and this is the one I opened up to. It's called Choice Vows, and it says, in the beginning, love was created, and it was good. Yet, as it is with all things, love is a choice. In the now, a bond is created, and it is good. Yet, as it is with all things, a bond is a choice. In each tomorrow, the future will be created, and it can be good. Yet, as it is with all things, the future is a choice. As the love of yesterday binds the present into a touch towards every tomorrow, do not vow to renew your choices on your 1st, your 5th, or your 50th anniversary. Rather, from this moment, go forth vowing. Go forth vowing to choose gently, celebrating life each day. Go forth vowing to choose wisely, playing after every storm. Go forth vowing to choose fervently, never giving up hope in things that matter. Then, as it was in the beginning, and as it is now, yet it will be in the future, blessed with choices and good. So I just wanted to end with that. The forward to this was written by Maya Angelou. So just highly, highly respected little boy. Like I said, died about age 14 and maybe died about 15 years ago. I do have more in my Own Your Power. I do write about him and everything. But anyway, I'm just at the tail end. I have a couple more poems I could read. In fact, since we do have a minute, I think there is one that I absolutely wanted to read too. Oh yeah, this one, Heaven Smile. I thought this was so sweet because this will, hopefully you'll remember to do this next New Year's Eve. It said, Heaven Smile. On New Year's Eve, look at the moon. That will bring new tomorrows. And if the moon is God's thumbnail, then you can see heaven's smile. Know that the smile is a gift in the middle of the angel stars, watching over us from above. Know that the cold air of winter brings us hugs as we keep lightly with each other for warmth. If you understand this, it will help you get wiser and stronger. It will help our heart songs to grow. It will help peace to spread in the world. It will help Mother Earth to live another year. And if you see a shooting star, know that this is very special, even if we don't really get to wish on it. Understand that the gift to our heart, the gift is to our heart, and we can always wish within our heart. My wish, even if it's only in my heart, is for a safer next year that is not so rough, and that I am wishing on the eve of a peaceful new year and years. So remember, every New Year's Eve, look up at the sky and see heaven smile in whatever moon is there. It will be a reflection of life and love, and a gift for you to meditate about the past, the present, and our future as we get stronger in understanding every year. And that was written in December of 1997. And the first one that I read was written in June of 2002. So anyway, thank you for being here.